we've got John Travolta,
Being trained to conquer galaxies.
Forrest Whitaker, horrifying jump scares,
A friendly bartender.
more hair than a 70s nudist colony, and lots of maniacal laughing. It's Battlefield Earth, but is it watchable? Thank you, imaginary people, and welcome everybody to Is It Watchable? I'm your host, Paul. Hope you like bad hair, bad teeth, and bad acting, because we're doing Battlefield Earth. Science fiction and religion have collided in movies countless times over the years. Hollywood loves to ratchet up the supernatural aspects of theology for scares and excitement. Sometimes religion even plays a central role in many of our favorite sci-fi films.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
And of course, some films are just straight up and unabashedly religious, funded by churches or made as pet projects of famous celebrities. Now, the reason I mention all of this is because many think that John Travolta's Battlefield Earth is a Scientology movie, the same way Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ is a Christian movie. That's why many avoided it then, that's why many avoid it now. But the two movies couldn't be more different. Passion of the Christ is based on the Bible, of course, while Battlefield Earth is based on a science fiction novel. A science fiction novel written by the founder of Scientology, yeah, but still, a science fiction novel. Now, does this film contain influences or share underlying philosophies with the Church of Scientology? Probably. But Battlefield Earth is not based on Dianetics, and Scientology is not a reason to avoid this film. There are many other reasons. It's the year 3000, and humans have been reduced to living like cavemen. Our hero Johnny proposes that his tribe relocate to a place with more food, but one of the elders isn't too keen on the idea.
All they would take is for one of the demons to follow you back from the Forbidden Land, and we'd all be struck down.
Have you ever seen one? Have you? Has anyone here ever seen one? A demon. A monster. A beast.
So yeah, Johnny isn't buying all that demon stuff and decides to venture out on his own. He hooks up with a couple other cavemen and they decide to camp out in an abandoned shopping mall. Soon, a strange guy with a disintegrator gun shows up and they're off to the races. They're captured and taken to Denver, where aliens known as Cyclos have set up a base in a huge dome. Johnny immediately kills a Cyclo guard and is off to the races again. Despite some cool slow-mo running, he doesn't get far thanks to Turl, played by John Travolta. Turl is the highly respected head of security and is nearing the end of his tour of duty on Earth. He's evil and also a huge D-bag, which they illustrate with this classic exchange.
Please, as a friend, wouldn't you forget to file the report?
Well, as a friend, I could forget to file the report. But unfortunately, I'm not your friend!
Now, you know how there are points in your life or in a relationship where you look back and go, that's when I knew. For me, in this movie, it was that scene. It was that what the performance by John Travolta, where I knew this would be the train wreck everyone said it was going to be. The district manager comes to Earth to discuss Turl's long-awaited transfer.
Your long overdue transfer. You must be looking forward to getting off this disgusting excuse of a planet. We've decided to keep you here for another 50 cycles. With endless options for renewal. With endless options for renewal. With endless options for renewal.
Ooh, that guy's mean. Meanwhile, Johnny gets in a prison fight over who should eat first and establishes himself as a new alpha dog. Back to the Cyclos, where Turl's deputy, Kerr, played by the always good Forrest Whitaker, tries to double-cross Turl and gets a beatdown. Turl stops short of killing him, though, and forces him to help him in an evil scheme. The two suggest to their boss that maybe humans should be trained to use mining equipment.
Man-animals operating machinery. Have you blown a head gasket?
And now back to Johnny, who after a silo collapses, breaks his shackles and escapes again, and is off to the races again, before being captured again. The guards try to kill him by removing his breathing apparatus. But surprise, he escapes again, and is off to the races again. Man, they are really trying hard to fill 2 hours. While Johnny's in the middle of his 34th escape, Turl and Kerr plot to put their plan into action.
It's my plan.
Excuse me, Turl's plan. Johnny's a running fool, but eventually runs into a dead end and is about to get popped before being saved by Turl. Turl likes to cut at Johnny's jib and thinks he can train him to help him carry out his evil plan. Okay, I guess I should take a moment and explain this evil plan. Turl and Kerr found some gold, but they can't mine it because it's in an area that has too much radiation for Cyclos. Radiation is bad for humans too, of course, but when mixed with whatever it is Cyclos breathe, things get all explodey. So Turl wants to train the humans to mine the gold so that he can use it as leverage to get off Earth, which he really hates. You following? To learn more about humans, Turl and Kerr let Johnny and his pals think they've escaped and monitor their behavior with hidden button cameras. Johnny doesn't know what a camera is, but figures something must be up and smashes them. And he's running again. and captured again. Turl, impressed with Johnny's intelligence, decides Johnny should learn their language to better communicate. So he hooks him up to a learning machine that squirts knowledge directly into his eyeballs. Johnny learns more than the Cyclo language, however, and becomes a legit genius. Being all smart and stuff now, Johnny and his fellow cavemen stage a mutiny. But the guns aren't loaded. Turl then takes Johnny to the library for some reason. To ensure that Johnny and his pals help with their plan, Turl and Kirk capture Johnny's girlfriend and put an explosive collar around her neck. Having had enough, Johnny and the rest of the slaves decide that they're going to fight the Cyclos. Meanwhile, Turl discovers that his boss has been lying about operating losses to pocket the change and bribes him to make his plan easier. Now with free reign to do whatever he wants, Turl trains Johnny to fly mining ships so he can send a group of slaves into a radiation area to mine gold. But Johnny uses his newfound knowledge to come up with a clever trick.
If we don't deliver the gold in 14 days to Terrell, then he's just gonna kill us.
Right, but I read about a place called Fort Knox where the gold has already been mined.
So while the slaves pretend to do some mining, a few of them fly across country to visit the Library of Congress for flimsy reasons before swinging by Fort Knox to pick up some sweet gold. Turl, like a dummy, totally accepts the gold in bar form.
Why is it in bars?
They just come like that now.
Really? I'll now expect the rest of the gold in 7 days.
Having only a week, the group hurries to plan their revolt. This includes visiting Fort Hood to pick up a radiation bomb, gather some weapons, and use a flight simulator to learn how to pilot fighter jets in 1 week.
I need you to teach your men how to fly this in 7 days.
Piece of cake! Piece of cake! Piece of cake!
I'd like to say that implying that cavemen can learn to fly supersonic jets in 1 week is incredibly insulting to actual pilots. Except, John Travolta is one of the most famous actual pilots in the entire world. Johnny trades some dirt on Turl in exchange for the release of his girlfriend and the other slaves. Now armed with incriminating info on Turl, Kurt thinks he has the upper hand, but you know Turl.
These things, I feel like it's a test that I'm not prepared for. Well, hell, it could even be a friendly bartender.
Now the revolt is in full swing with lots of sneaking around, breaking stuff, and slow motion running from Johnny. In his defense, it's been a little while since his last run. Also, the cavemen proved us all wrong by not only learning how to fly, but being Top Gun level pilots. A big part of their plan is to blow up the dome so the Cyclos can't breathe. But the dome only ends up cracking. So our man decides to sacrifice himself by crashing into it, but that doesn't work either. That's a quality dome. So he uses a bazooka to detonate the explosives on board. That does the trick and our heroes are reinvigorated as glass and debris come crashing down. Not always convincingly. While Turl struggles with Johnny, that blonde surfer-looking dude, I forget the names, takes a radiation bomb to the teleportation platform. Johnny slaps the explosive device that was around his girlfriend's neck onto Turl's arm and boom, no more arm. Surfer Guy and the bomb get teleported to planet Cyclo and boom, no more planet. The humans of Earth are saved, our lovebirds are reunited, and Turl is locked up in Fort Knox because irony or something. I hope they kept that machine that squirts smartness into your brain. They can make everyone geniuses. There's your sequel. As mentioned earlier, this film was based on the book Battlefield Earth written by L. Ron Hubbard and published in 1982. It was immediately shopped around Hollywood as a potential movie in the vein of Star Wars. Now, John Travolta was reportedly interested in a film version from the very beginning, but after becoming an industry heavyweight in the latter part of the 70s, his clout diminished somewhat in the 80s due to some questionable projects. But all that changed in 1994 with one iconic role.
And you know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
They don't call it a quarter pounder with cheese?
Oh man, they got the metric system. They wouldn't know what the f a quarter pounder is.
And what do they call it?
They call it Royale with cheese.
Suddenly, Travolta was back in a big way, and people were reminded that the dude is a pretty good actor.
You good looking.
He was once again a bona fide A-lister, and when he approached studios with Battlefield Earth, they all wanted to jump on it. Except they really didn't. The elephant in the room was still Scientology, and studio execs were worried that audiences would associate the film with the religion, even though, again, the source material was science fiction, not a religious text. But the film eventually found a backer in a relatively new company called Franchise Pictures, and Travolta and his associates proved all the naysayers wrong. Except they really didn't. The film bombed, making less than half of its reported $73 million production budget. And of course, it wouldn't be featured on this show if it wasn't also a critical failure. Critics hated this movie. Roger Ebert likened it to taking a bus trip with someone who hasn't bathed in a long time. Elvis Mitchell of the New York Times called it Plan 9 from outer space for a new generation. And while not a movie critic, Jon Stewart of The Daily Show had arguably the best line, saying it was a cross between Star Wars and the smell of ass. Ouch. So Battlefield Earth, is it watchable? Maybe just barely. The thing with Battlefield Earth is that it can almost be a decent movie. Not a great one by any stretch, but like a solid 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. A few rewrites of the script here, some more time in the editing room there, recast a few characters. The problem is that if it were any better, it wouldn't be nearly as watchable. And one of the things that makes this movie so bad is also one of the things that elevates it to fun watchability. Travolta's performance as Turtle.
While you were still learning how to spell your name, I was being trained to conquer galaxies.
Again, I think he's a good actor, but this just isn't the role for him. He's way over the top, awkward, and straight up cheesy. For a better but forgettable movie, swap Travolta and Forrest Whitaker's parts. But for cringe-inducing fun, I wouldn't change a thing. Well, that's it for this episode. Be sure to join me next time when I review cult favorite The Giant Claw, and don't forget to subscribe.